Hello there, good morning and welcome to this, the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter. This is number 103. It covers the WordPress news for the week commencing the 24th of February 2020 and it was published on Monday the 2nd of March 2020. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and just a couple of things before we begin. Please feel free to share this news episode if you find it useful and think other people would find it useful. You know, the usual things, Twitter and perhaps email even, and Facebook and so on. I'd really appreciate that. Whilst you're up to that, you might want to go over and check out a few things on the wpbuilds.com website, wpbuilds.com/subscribe if you want to keep up to date for all the content that we produce. Podcasts on a Thursday, news on a Monday, which you're listening to now, and also the live weekly WordPress news, which is at 2 p.m. UK time. You can join in with that at wpbuilds.com/live or in our Facebook group. The other page that I want to recommend is wpbuilds.com/deals. It's a bit like Black Friday, but every single day of the week. There's a whole bunch of searchable, filterable coupon codes for WordPress products. So if you're in the market for something this week, maybe go and check that out. And wpbuilds.com/advertise. If you've got a product or service and you would like it putting in front of a WordPress specific audience, then maybe that page is for you. wpbuilds.com/advertise. And a company that's done that is Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH and 24/7 expert support. And you can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we thank Kinsta for helping us put on the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter. Speaking of which, let's get stuck into it, shall we? We always block our WordPress news into sections, and the first section is always about WordPress Core. And the first item I've got for you this week is over at wordpress.org, entitled WordPress 5.4 Beta 3. There's not really a lot to say. There have been a few little minor improvements. So, for example, there's a whole bunch of Gutenberg fixes, which I'll get onto in a minute. And also there is movement in the display site health score, which is now going to be put into the dashboard. They've been added in, but 24 tickets have been closed. But if you're a tester and you like doing this kind of thing, the date for release is the 31st of March. And if you click on the link in the show notes, you'll be taken to the page where you can sign up for that. The other one that I want to mention is actually over on WP Tavern. It's entitled Gutenberg 7.6 includes rotating tips list and new full site editing blocks. This is written by Justin Tadlock. At the end of last week, 7.6 of Gutenberg rolled out. It was only 2 weeks ago that 7.5 came out, and so it's developing at quite a rapid pace. Variations on the speed, it looks like we've got quite significant speed increases. So for example, in 7.5, it took 8.5 seconds to load a page and 7.7 seconds in the new version. So they've shaved almost a second off. This is based upon a very large post of about 36,000 words with 1,000 blocks in it. So that's good. There's some new speed improvements. There's also a new rotating tips in the block inserter. So when you click the little plus icon at the top right and you decide which block it is that you wish to select to put in, there's now going to be a rotating list, because previously it was just a piece of static text which hovered at the bottom, and obviously, like anything else, you become immune to looking at it. So it's going to rotate. Currently, Justin says there's only 5 or 6 and they're completely hard-coded in, but he's already thinking of writing his own plugin to insert text in there from Joss Whedon's Firefly books. That's quite interesting. But no doubt, in the future, this area will be very, very helpful. Perhaps it will have more content in it, enabling people to get to grips with Gutenberg more quickly. And also there's some talk about the fact that maybe it will be able to update itself based upon searches that you perform. So you may be looking for a particular type of block and maybe something helpful will come up there giving you instructions about how to deploy that block, which would be rather nice. Let's hope it doesn't turn into an advertising opportunity, which would no doubt annoy most of us. The other one is to say that there are now some kind of placeholder blocks for the full site editing experience, which we're expecting to come during the course of the next year. They are simply placeholders. They don't really do anything, but it's allowing you to pull data in. So for example, there's one for featured image, tags, comments count and comments form. Takes the total to about 12, Justin says, but we need to probably double that in order to have a full site editing experience. So whilst you can play with this, there's not a lot you can actually do with it. So anyway, nice improvements to the block editor. The next section is all about the community, and I've got several pieces for you this week. And the first two are about funding rounds. Over on TechCrunch, we read the story Strattic raises 6.5 million to bring static WordPress to the masses. This is fabulous news. Miriam Schwab has been on the WP Builds weekly WordPress news live version on a couple of occasions, and they have received 6.5 million in order to take Strattic into the stratosphere, which is a ridiculous thing for me to have said. I do apologize. They went out seeking $2 million from Silicon Valley, and in an oversubscribed round came back with 6.5. They've received funding in a round led by Signalfire, 10-1 Ventures, Akel, Automatic, Seneca VC, Eric Rees, Village Global VC. They've also taken on Zeev Sarasky, who is the co-founder of PHP, along with other things like the Zend engine. He's joined the company as the CTO. And Strattic is basically a solution to kind of flatten your WordPress website so that it just serves up HTML, and you can do this with their hosting platform. The idea is not only to speed things up, but to make things considerably more secure. They say it means that your site is 99.99999% more unhackable than it was before. Anyway, I'm so pleased. I've followed this company for the last year or so, and I'm delighted that they've managed to get this round massively in excess of what they were hoping for. So good luck to them. Well done. The next story, also talking about fundraising, is about Elementor. It's on the poststatus.com website, a piece by Brian Crosgard entitled Elementor has raised a 15 million Series A, led by Lightspeed Venture Partners. And it is exactly that. They have raised $15 million. And it is, as I said, led by Lightspeed Venture Partners. There was talk about whether Envato had in some way also invested some money, but Brian's journalism and investigations has led him to believe that this is in fact not the case. So yeah, it would appear from what Brian's writing that he, along with many other people, I think, believe that Elementor is probably going to be launching a sort of SaaS version of the page builder, maybe something which completely hides WordPress away. We'll have to wait and see. However, they are currently hiring for what they call a cloud team, which is tasked with building, maintaining and supporting the company cloud hosting SaaS solution. So obviously this will put them in great shape for being able to build that going forward. So again, congratulations. We've had Ben Pine on the podcast on a number of occasions, so brilliant stuff. The next piece is about WP feedback, but it's not the normal WP feedback news. It's not about the plugin itself. It's more about the community that they've set up. You can click in the link to the show notes. This actually takes you to a WP Mayor article, but if you go to my.wpfeedback.co, you can sign up there. Essentially, Vito Peleg, who is actually joining us live on Monday to talk about this, amongst other things, he decided that everything was a bit too spread out. You know, the WordPress community is in multiple Facebook groups. It's in different Slack channels and so on. And so he thought to himself, well, why don't we launch a WordPress-based website which sort of pulls everything together? So as I said, my.wpfeedback.co, and you can go there. There's loads and loads of different groups. So for example, there's groups about security, there's groups about the news, which I actually am in charge of. And there's, you know, you imagine any kind of WordPress related issue, there's basically a group for it, design and so on and so forth. And you can go and check those out. Plus there's a sandbox where you can go and test out the features of plugins. There's an awful lot in there, and yeah, go check it out. But come and join us 2 p.m. wpbuilds.com/live on Monday the 2nd of March, and you will be able to listen to Vito talking about it. The next piece I'm going to draw your attention to is on WordPress Tavern again. It's by Justin Tadlock, entitled On MAGA Caps and WordCamps. And in this piece, Justin Tadlock talks about people who are wearing Make America Great Again caps at WordCamp. Now, I'm going to be very clear. I do not live in America, and I absolutely do not understand the controversy here. I don't understand it from one perspective or the other. I'm simply drawing attention attention to this article. But it essentially is Justin's opinions on whether or not the wearing of these caps, it could be considered political hate speech, and therefore should these hats be allowed in places like WordCamps. Go and read the article yourself. There's a ton of comments down below. People obviously got really interested in this from both sides of the argument, and you can draw your own conclusions. Again, staying with WordPress Tavern, goodbye featured themes for now. We have a piece telling us that the featured themes page was quietly removed from the WordPress themes directory. Now, it would appear that this has simply gone away for a temporary period of time, because there's actually an awful lot of piping that goes on in the background, shall we say, with API endpoints and so on. So it means that that feature can't simply be just pulled out like that. So it may well come back in the next week, day, year, who knows, but we don't know what we're going to get. There's obviously a lot of thought about this from theme developers, because they would like to have their themes featured. And so we'll just have to see how this goes. But for now, you will no longer see featured themes on the themes directory. I have news about a new event. If you're into blocks, head over to wpblocktalk.com. This is the building blocks for block builders, it says. A free online event for all things block editor. Join us on April the 2nd. So it says WP Block Talk is a live virtual event with speakers who've been key to designing and developing the block editor. Join us on April the 2nd, scheduled to be announced, and learn to make the most of the block editor, build more engaging layouts, create your own custom blocks, and understand the inspiration and code driving the whole project. There is an email capture form on there, so you can simply fill out your email and hopefully they will keep in touch with you. I have to say, I really like the website. It's very simple, but they've got this ingenious scrolling effect, and if you stare at it for just a few seconds, you kind of think, oh, how's that done? And then you'll probably twig that it's actually just a static image, but it's really clever. I like it. So it says, meet the speakers. Matthias Ventura, Mel Choice and Rich Tabor are on the list, so we know that this is a high caliber crowd. So I'm certainly going to be signing on and seeing if they can teach me a thing or two. wpblocktalk.com. The next section is WordPress plugins, themes and blocks, and the first piece I've got is automatic theme and plugin updates slated for WordPress 5.5. Jean-Baptiste Audras announced the WordPress Auto Updates feature plugin. It says the project seeks to bring automatic plugin and theme updates to WordPress 5.5. Parts of it were in 5.4 by all accounts, but it's going to have to wait. Seemingly odd at the moment is that it requires PHP 7.2, although we need backwards compatibility to 5.6. But the idea really is interesting. I'm very much supportive of the idea of updating all the things automatically, but clearly I'm sure we've all been burnt in the past where we've updated something and it's completely ruined some aspect of the site, perhaps even just breaking it in entirety. So we would like probably to have some granular control of this and the ability to switch it on or off for various things, and that seems to be the way it's going. The idea is that you'll get email notifications which will summarize any auto updates, and hopefully a UI in which you'll offer some kind of fine-grained control where you can enable or disable auto updates on a plugin by plugin or theme by theme basis. This in core would be remarkable. Obviously, it would be a bit of a hit, I suppose, to some of the plugins and services that we might use to do this. But it does feel that on balance, this seems to be something really which we should have in core and perhaps should have had in core already. Astra have a piece entitled Starter Templates 2.0. Building websites just got a lot more easier. I think I should probably say a lot more easy, but there you go. It is to say that Starter Templates 2.0 has been launched. Astra starter site started 2 years ago, and you could simply click a button and import an entire website. But they've decided to sort of take a little bit of a revamp. So now you can kind of, well, as you've always been able to do, import different sections or blocks, rows, and so on. But they've enhanced the UI so that it's much more easy to look around. There's a sync library to fetch new newly added templates as well. So as they're constantly updating them, hopefully you can click a button and they will all sync back and you'll get the latest ones as well. You'll be able to mark certain ones as favorite. There's a little heart icon, so ones that you've looked at in the past, you might be able to say, okay, I like that one, just save that for later and so on, and just without having to keep trawling and coming back. You can import just single pages. So if you like one particular, I don't know, contact page, for example, over a contact page in the whole site, you can just import that one page, which is quite nice. And this is really good as well. You will be able to automatically inherit theme customizer settings. So if you import a starter template and you, let's say, have red buttons and, oh, I don't know, rounded corners on certain things, then this will all be taken into account. The customizer colors and so on and so forth will be inherited. So whatever the original was in the template that you were looking at, it will be overridden. So that's really nice. There's also options to make it compatible with the very popular Elementor page builder as well. So really nice. Well done, Astra. This next one is me just really alerting you that I've come across something that I'd never heard of before. It's called LiveCanvas, and they've just released an update. It's LiveCanvas 1.4 at the moment, and it's just a different take on a page builder. I'm not really going to talk too much about the update because obviously I haven't really mentioned it before. So the updates, well, there have been updates, which is quite nice, but it's just a really different take on what a page builder is. So basically it just puts out pure HTML and CSS. So rather than the way that you're used to with page builders like, oh, I don't know, Beaver Builder and Elementor and so on, this is engineered, they say, for performance. The whole thing comes in under 150 kilobytes gzipped. And yeah, hopefully would speed things up should you choose to use it. Anyway, my intention here is really not to sell it to you, but just to say, oh, never heard of that. Why not go and have a look? Those people who like to customize their WordPress admin, especially when they hand it over to clients, will be pleased that Ultimate Dashboard has received an update. We're on version 2.9. It was released on the 19th of February. And we've got a great new option, which I think a lot of people will really like. If you are using Beaver Builder or Elementor page builders, you can now create the dashboards with either of those two options. There's a whole bunch of other new things. So an option to set a custom logo URL for the login screen. There's an option to remove the Help tab, option to remove Screen Options tab, option to change the dashboard headline, and a whole bunch more tips and tweaks as well. So yeah, very nice. Well done, David Von Gries, for those updates, but especially, I think, for the added flexibility of the page builder options. That's great. A few deals that caught my attention this week. Firstly, I would like to say go and click on the link in the show notes to get yourself alerted when we find out deals on WordPress products and services. If you go to wpbuilds.com/alerts or just click on the link in the show notes, it's the first link under the deals from this week section. You'll be taken to a form where you can fill out. And once you've done that, I will just send you news as and when I find out about deals for WordPress products or services. So 4 that I've got for you this week. There's WP Data Tables, which is a lifetime deal. Wishlist member. These have both been mentioned before, but they're still on a lifetime deal. So click on the link in the show notes. And I've added a couple of extra ones. There's a plugin called Happy Forms, which is a form builder, akin to things like Gravity Forms and so on. It's obviously not quite as popular, but it may be worth checking out because it's also on a lifetime deal at $49. And WP Foamify as well. So it's like a FOMO, fear of missing out plugin. That's also on a lifetime deal. Our very light touch on WordPress security. Don't think this is the right place for deep dives, but so we have 3 plugins which have been mentioned specifically in WordFence this week. Multiple attack campaigns targeting recent plugin vulnerabilities. So you can go and read about that. The second one I'm going to mention is a vulnerability which has been patched in the pricing table by Sopsistic. That's what it says, Sopsistic plugin, that's hard to pronounce. And finally, Site Takeover campaign exploits multiple 0-day vulnerabilities. So yes, as I said, just go and click on the links if you are interested in those. And the WordPress vulnerability roundup from iThemes has been released. This is part 2, and this is one of those posts where you can just scroll through and look at the icons. So for example, iThemes themselves, Sync Pro had to be updated for a vulnerability, as have some other bigger ones, WP Central and Ninja Forms and so on. So I would recommend that as well. Anyway, there are 4 links in the show notes for you to check out. The blatantly promotional WP Builds bit, I've only got one thing for you this week, and it's to say that David Wormsley and I released a podcast entitled Making an Impact. It, I think, is our final foray into the watertight marketing book by Brian E. Thomas, and it talks about how we can stand apart and make our message clear to our clients and hopefully get lots and lots more clients and users. So yeah, it was an interesting podcast, and as I say, it rounds off that whole episode, but it was 168 Making an Impact. Also, I've got one thing in the jobs section. It's not a sort of job where you've got a particular role. You could define this in whatever way you wanted, because Amir over at Toolset has got a post entitled Need Help, or Help Needed rather, writing Toolset courses. And it's exactly that. If you're a user of Toolset and you believe that you are experienced in using it and could teach people in a confident and professional way by creating videos and explanation text and so on, well, they're looking for you. The abilities, you really need to be able to use the entire toolset suite, so types, blocks, maps, access and forms and so on. You need to be basic in PHP, it says, but you need to be a native English speaker, and you can kind of define for yourself. It says they're looking for peer project work, part-time or full-time. They haven't really decided, but they're looking to get some of this stuff out in about 3 weeks' time, so you'd have to act fast. That is all the WordPress news I've got, but there's 3 pieces that I want to bring to your attention under the title of Not WordPress But Useful Anyway. The first one, this is very much me just bringing something to your attention that I feel deeply about. It's on TechCrunch. It says, want podcasts to remain independent? Support independent podcasts. And guess what it says? Basically, it's written by a guy who has, with various degrees of success, run his own podcasts in the past. And he's basically saying, look, you know, they're going to be bought up by these corporate giants, and we want these things to be independent. We want them to be, as big as they can be, but not necessarily subservient to the whims of larger companies. So support your local podcast. That's the whole point, and I'm sure that you're doing that right now by listening to us. And as a gesture of support, go and share it with your friends and family. There are nice people on the internet, and there's naughty people on the internet as well. And this week in the Search Engine Journal, we hear about some of the naughty ones. Google's John Mueller to investigate deceitful link building practices. Good grief, the ingenuity of these people. So a few people have been complaining that they've been receiving emails or tweets or whatever it is, essentially saying, look, we are the owners of one of the images on your website. Kindly put a link on your website back to us and we'll forget all about it. And it turns out that these images, in most cases, have been completely legitimately bought. In other words, it's just complete fraud. People are getting backlinks by this bogus tactic of claiming that they're going to be, well, I guess, sued or something like that, should they not put a link. Anyway, don't fall for it. If you know that you are the owner of an image, and I hope you do know that you are the owner of all the images on your websites, then don't fall for it. But the chap mentioned in the article, John Mueller, who's from Google, he's interested to hear of examples of this. He wants to track this down because he wants to know if people are getting genuine SEO benefits from this slightly dodgy practice. I'm guessing that there is some benefit to it, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. But he wants to figure out a way, presumably to automate a way, to track this nonsense down and stamp it out before these people start getting too aggressive and successful with it. So we're all used to using CMSs to create our websites. Well, there's a platform called Codedio, which I'm not very familiar with, in all honesty, in that I've never really used it, but it kind of feels a bit like a service like Airtable or a spreadsheet on complete and utter steroids. In other words, it's a repository. You can dump any kind of information into this thing, this spreadsheet-like thing, and then interact with it and display it in all sorts of magnificent and interesting ways. Well, a new thing that they've decided to do is allow you to basically create web pages by pushing things into your Coda documents. This came out last week, and yeah, it's just really fascinating. In all honesty, the pages look quite nice. You push content into your Coda document, and then it will spit it out as a web page for you. So yeah, just fascinating. Who needs WordPress when you've got a complex spreadsheet? Well, there you go. That's all I've got for you this week. I really hope that you found that useful or helpful. As I said, I really do welcome any comments, and I would be most pleased to hear from you. You can contact me on the wpbuilds.com website. There's a contact page and fill out the form, but it's just nice to be in the Facebook group and so on, and hanging out and learning all about the WordPress stuff that we talk about. And yeah, so share it on iTunes or whatever it's now called, Apple Podcasts. Share it on your favorite podcast player. Write a post about it, that kind of thing. Anyway, there we go. The WP Builds weekly WordPress news was brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox, and it runs on speed-obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH, and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. You can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we thank Kinsta for supporting the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter. Okay, we'll see you on Thursday for the podcast. We'll see you back here next Monday for the next WordPress newsletter. And join us 2 p.m. UK time, live, wpbuilds.com/live, or in the Facebook group for the live version of the news. Bye-bye for now.